Now, as we move into late Etruscan art, even though in the 5th century we're hitting the golden age of Greece, we don't see the same amongst the Etruscans. The Romans in 509 BCE will expel the last of the Etruscan kings and become a republic. At this point, they've pretty much taken over much of the Etruscan territory. And this effectively ends Etruscan dominance and their prosperity in the region, as most of these goods will be going to Rome. Now, in terms of Etruscan classical art, everything is being created for the Romans. The quantity and sometimes quality will decrease at this time. But we don't see the art cease. We still see some really impressive bronze and terracotta works coming out, even though they're far lesser in number. And what we're going to start with is the Capitoline Wolf. The Capitoline Wolf is probably the best known of all of the Etruscan bronzes. It's a little bit larger than life size, and it's a hollow cast bronze. Here, the she-wolf is nursing Romulus and Remus. Romulus and Remus are abandoned by their mother, left in the wild to die. This she-wolf comes and raises them, and eventually they will go on to found Rome. And it's likely, or it was thought until recently, that this was made for the new Roman Republic, because it very much became an emblem of Rome. Incidentally, the infants are a 15th century addition. They're added in for narrative. So really the wolf is the old piece, and then the infants are added much later. And we see this very tense, very watchful wolf, this clear she-wolf with the teats hanging off, telling us that she's there to mother a people. She's fierce and protective as danger seems to approach. And let me tell you, there's danger. So about a few years ago, maybe 2-3 years ago, we started to see research that indicates that this may not be an Etruscan piece. This may actually be a 12th to 13th century copy. And while that information isn't 100% yet, there isn't enough confirmation to definitely move this into the medieval, we are seeing something that we don't expect from history and art history, which is something is changing and being dynamic. If this is a 12th century wolf, then it has nothing to do with the Etruscans. It has nothing to do with the Romans. It's probably a group who's having this made because they're trying to be Roman or resurrect Roman ideas well after the fall of the Roman Empire. It would also explain the addition of the children, because then it's only a couple of hundred years later. Sometimes people take issue with this idea that 2,000 years later they're adding these figures. Another problem is we don't have good evidence that the Capitoline Wolf was ever in Rome, which is what legend tells us. It tells us that this was at the Roman capital. But without evidence, this becomes an issue. So for now, if you're writing your notes, for the Capitoline Wolf, write 500 to 480. Just be aware that the dating may well change over the next few years, which would change entirely our understanding of this sculpture.